Hello, welcome to News Centre. I'm Parikshit Luthra. Airlines have been forced to cancel several flights after the government directed the Mumbai International Airport to reduce flight movements on the runway. The Aviation Ministry said it was forced to act as Mumbai Airport was giving excess slots to airlines, causing congestion at the airport. The ministry justified the action, saying aircrafts hover over Mumbai airspace for as long as 60 minutes, causing wastage of fuel and inconvenience to passengers. The airport has been ordered now to restrict air traffic movements during peak hours from 46 to 44 per hour and 44 to 42 during non-peak hours. The decision also impacts business aircraft movement. The no-fly curfew on such flights has been increased from 4 hours to 8 hours. The decision is likely to face opposition from the aviation community. To take this forward, I'm now joined by CAPA's India CEO Kapil Kaul and Bangalore Aviation's Devesh Agarwal. Also on the program with us is Captain R.K. Bali of Business Aircraft Operators Association. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us on the program. Kapil, if I can begin with you. Now, as per this draft circular issued yesterday, or the statement that was issued by the Aviation Ministry, air traffic permitted per hour during 6 hours of high-intensity runway operations was almost equivalent to air traffic permitted per hour during the remaining 18 hours in a day. Now, when we speak about such massive congestion at the Mumbai airport, who's responsible for it? The airport authorities, the airline, or both together?
Good evening. First of all, I think congestion has happened before. It's just not limited to Bombay. And particularly in Bombay, congestion has happened before. Aircrafts have been hovering in air for a longer time, pre-COVID, particularly pre-COVID. So what we are seeing in Mumbai airport now is not new. Though I think the congestion is at peak hours at other airports as well. But overall, I think it's not new in Bombay. In spite of the fact that over these last 5, 7, 8 years, Mumbai Airport has increased airside capacity significantly. They are perhaps one of the only airports in the world, or one of the few airports in the world with 50+ runway moments an hour. And on a single runway, the closest that comes to my mind is Gatwick Airport. So I think they have significantly increased their capacity over the last few years. But congestion has happened before. Aircrafts have hovered around in air for a long time, so it's not new. The only thing what has happened, which is new, is the government actually coming proactively and asking them to reschedule flights at peak and perhaps at off-peak to make sure that the congestion in air is reduced. So that's new, but congestion has been there. It has been before, so it's not new. The only thing that we have to keep in mind is that whilst when the new airport in Mumbai is operational from next within 12 months or so, I think we will see a significant ease in terms of the capacity constraint at Bombay. Bombay is perhaps very significantly capacity constrained. It has a terminal capacity which could go up to 60 million, but its challenge is airside, and that's been historic. It's not new. It's been before. But the government's decision to proactively act.
All right, Kapil, you are pointing out.
I just want to add one thing, which is
right. You're pointing out that this is
is that I think it's time when we look at infrastructure, we just don't look at ground infrastructure. We don't only look at access infrastructure. We look at airspace infrastructure. The terminal infrastructure is going to be significantly enhanced starting next year at all metros, at the private airports of Adani's and AI airports. Almost 90,000 capex is being planned. What's of a concern, and we don't know what's happening on the airspace side, how the airspace is being restructured to get that capacity. And that's very vital, because when we talk about the structural capacity of the airport, you just don't talk about ground and access. You talk about airspace capacity, the runway infrastructure, the productivity of runway. All that needs to be relooked at very strategically. Otherwise, we may have terminal capacity significantly. But if the airside is not aligned to the kind of growth that we are going to experience from next fiscal, we will always have a challenge. It's very important to look at the airside, augment airside capacity, and government has done flexible use of airspace.
Kapil,
they have lateral.
We need to do more on the airspace infrastructure, as you're pointing out. Devesh Agarwal, if I can get you in at this point, do you think the government's intervention here was right? Does it send out the right message? Was it required?
Hi, Parikshit. Firstly, thank you for having me. Uh, I think yes. I feel that the government is kind of sending a signal. Right now, Parikshit, if you look at it, there is a concept of what they call a slot conference. But back in 2019, IATA, which is the global airlines, industry group, they had asked the Indian government to have a centralized kind of coordination committee, which is not there. Uh, Everything is done, at airport to airport level. And while there is a guideline, the information available, say, for instance, there is a concept, what is called an NAC, a NAC chart that is made for all airports. Now, that chart is actually supposed to indicate the hourly capacity an airport has. Okay. And it keeps getting updated on a very regular basis. Suppose a runway gets closed down or anything like that. Guess what? You will not find that data available anywhere. There is no transparency in the airport operations. That data is kind of held on to like as if it's some holy grail. But you can get the NAC charts for London. You can even get it for something like Cyprus Airport. It's a chota little airport, but still you will get all the details. So there should be a bit of culture of transparency brought into the aviation system. Number two, I was going to ask you, while it is very good the government is doing this, I'm wondering why there is nobody either here from Airport Authority of India or from the ministry to try and explain to, the Indian public as to why and what is happening, what are the steps they are taking. Uh, as Kapil very rightly pointed out, the entire capacity, because it's a completely integrated system. It starts from the terminal. How many bags per hour can you process in the check-in baggage? How many can you do in the hand baggage? What is the rate of processing of security? What is the size of the taxiways, et cetera, et cetera?
Right.
How many rapid exits I have? It's not just the issue of runway. And then, of course, up in the sky. India, for some reason, the government just doesn't want to free up the skies. There are the airspace above major Indian cities is extremely clogged. You may bring up Navi Mumbai Airport, but it ultimately is going to still occupy the same airspace. How are things going to get handled? So,
Mr. Agarwal, if I can ask a follow-up question.
Sure.
All the airlines in India together have placed an order for 1,120 aircraft. Some airlines are going to see a delivery of one aircraft per week this year.
Yes.
Do you feel that we are putting enough attention to the infrastructure that is required to accommodate so many more airlines which are going to enter the fleet of Indian companies? Also, when we compare this to air traffic management systems in Europe, in US, how are we placed right now?
Parikshit, if you see, I have been howling about airside infrastructure for such a long time. The government, in its policies for the airports, does not incentivize or penalize airside infrastructure. Everything is, focused around the terminal. The passenger sees, I've got a very nice, beautiful terminal. I've got, all these various Indian and foreign brands to buy from, eat at, all that. But nobody pays attention to what is really happening on the air side. Indian airports are bolstering capacity, but you're very right. If they're going to induct, and even if we discount that, okay, 1,100 aircraft, let's assume 50% of those aircraft are meant like for replacement fleet. They're not going to augment the fleet. It is still 600 aircraft that in the next, say, about say 5 to 10 years are going to come into this country. Where are you going to park them? Where are you going to fly them? How are you going to land them? We have these grandiose plans to make India the aviation hub and everything else, but regretfully, the Civil Aviation Ministry is not putting, how would I use the word, practice of making policy that will ensure these goals. It's like almost like wishful thinking. And it's like, okay, the problem will solve itself. It will not solve itself. And you can't have each airport operator behaving independent of each other. There has to be a much more cohesive and integrated approach.
Right. Let me get in Mr. Bali at this point. Captain Bali, the statement that was issued by the Aviation Ministry on behalf of the Airport Authority of India says that there was excessive slot distribution with limited time margins by the Mumbai airport operator and non-adherence of slots by airlines. How is this going to impact airline operations? Are there going to be cancellations? Do you see passengers getting inconvenienced as an immediate effect?
Everyone will have to recast their plans. And as far as I am concerned, I can speak only on behalf of the business aviation, which comprises the non-scheduled operations from the airport. We are going to be getting very adversely affected. We already had curfew timings for earlier 4 hours in the morning and in the afternoon. Now it has been extended to 8 hours with the additional curfew timings from 9:15 to 11:15 at night. So it is going to affect us primarily. In fact, Kapil has already covered how it's going to overall affect the infrastructure. But as far as business aviation is concerned, given the concentration of multinationals around Mumbai, it's going to affect the future business aviation operation in and around Mumbai. Navi Mumbai will only solve the issue for some time, I would say next 5 years after it is operational. We at Mumbai, given the number of aircraft which are going to come to India, I think we'll need to look at another airport besides Mumbai in the coming years. Maybe 5 years down the line, we'll have to look at another airport. Look at all the major cities around the globe. They have 2 to 3 airports to look into the requirement of the business aviation. So I feel going forward, firstly, we need to have a stakeholder consultation, how to optimize the use of the airport with the present constraints available, and have a firm planning to have separate infrastructure for business aviation. Presently, it exists only at Delhi. Mumbai doesn't exist, and Mumbai needs it the most because this is a business hub. In fact, in the last five years, business operations have reduced. How does
this congestion in Mumbai compare to the congestion that you see in Delhi, for that matter, and other airports across the world?
See, in Delhi, specifically in Delhi,
are you seeking a review of this decision by the Airport Authority of India?
Surely we are seeking the review, and we have asked the ministry to have a consultation with all the stakeholders. And there was a meeting on 9th with the MIL on this issue. And we have given suggestion how we can still optimize, maximize the use of the airport at Mumbai. Delhi had issues earlier, but Delhi has a separate business aviation terminal today. And Delhi is not having much constraint. On and off, there may be some management problem. Across the globe, there are separate, like Gatwick is there in London. So there are separate business aviation airport. We need to have that in India, specifically around the big cities. Like Mumbai should have one. Delhi already has. Okay. There is another one coming up. Bangalore, HCL can be used. All that. We need to do all that.
All right, so we need to have dedicated infrastructure for business aircraft. Final question to Kapil Kaul. Kapil, in just about 15-20 seconds, do you feel that this is something that the industry is going to take up with the government? This is not going to go down well. We heard from the Business Aircraft Operators Association, but do you think some of the mainstream airlines are now going to the Aviation Ministry and seek a review of this?
I don't think anything is going to happen, Parikshit. The government has taken a decision. I don't think it's going to be reversed. It's important going forward that we accommodate schedules that we can handle. We look at what's the capacity, how many flights can be accommodated in an hour. But I don't see a reversal of it either for business aviation for the scheduled airlines. The long-term issue is that ground infrastructure is not the structural capacity. It's important that we relook at the airspace capacity, really restructure it. Government is looking at flexible use of airspace, fast track it, release as much capacity as possible. There's already done, a lateral separation has been halved. More needs to be done. We have spent 90,000 crores on the ground infrastructure. Part of it could be on the airspace, but airspace needs a different attention. And I have been saying this for a while, that we would need ANS hive off. We need separate corporate